Hey guys, so before I jump into the video, I just wanted to let you know, in case you were wondering, the title is not clickbait. Unfortunately, I really wish that it was, but it's not clickbait. I'll tell you what happened. So if you're new to my channel, I want to say hi. I'm sorry this is the first video that you're seeing of me, but normally my content revolves around home education, homeschooling, motherhood, all that kind of cool stuff. But unfortunately, I'm one of those people that has chronic illnesses, and every now and then I give an update on what's going on with that, because a lot of my videos and stories and things like that, you see me at the doctor's office a lot, and there's times I take breaks for a long time, and well, here's the update. Before I get into the video, I will be talking about medical things, so if you don't want kids listening, I'm just warning you now. You might want to put headphones in or listen to it, while you're on lunch or something. Just letting you know, this may not be the most kid-friendly topic. I get really hesitant to share this type of stuff because I keep wondering at what point you guys are going to be like, she's making this up for attention. So I'm not even sure where to start. I'm not even sure what would be the appropriate place to start for this. But there was a morning in October where I woke up and it was really weird. Physically, I felt fine, but I was covered in these teeny tiny little bruises, like the size of my fingertip. And that really freaked me out. So immediately I thought back, did I fall out of bed? Did I hit something? And even if I did, even if I hit something or if I fell, the bruise would be a lot bigger. This was really bizarre, and I'm one of those people that has always, since I was a kid, bruised very easily. And the doctors just kind of, wrote it off. They didn't think much of it. My mom always bruised easy. My grandmother always bruised easily. So they just like, oh, it's just something genetic. Don't worry about it. Well, this was different, and I knew it was different, and my husband was freaked out. We counted over 60 bruises just on my lower body. And we're talking like the size of a dime, even smaller. And they were various colors and things like that. So once we got over the shock of all the bruising, we also noticed that my skin from like my neck down was covered in these tiny, and I'm talking like the head of a pin kind of tiny, little red dots. It was everywhere. I mean, everywhere. I was covered in it. And we couldn't figure out what these were. And I had had a patch of it on my shoulder, like right here, like from my shoulder to my forearm, for about 3 years. We always thought it was something with my CVS. I have a brain condition known as cyclic vomiting syndrome, and it's associated with my migraines. It's a chronic condition. Super fun. We just figured it was something that had to do with that. Well, now it spread from here to my entire body. It was even on my feet and my hands. The only place where I don't see it right now is actually my face. You guys can't see it on camera. I'm really glad, because it kind of freaks me out. Like, it's like all over my arms. I can see it all the time. And the dots, the color of them they're like really, really dark blood red. So my husband, he was like, this is not normal. You need to see a doctor. And he took me to the emergency room that night. So I go to the ER, and because I am such a, I'm not even sure I feel like a VIP member of that ER at this point. I go to that ER all the time. I know the protocol there. I know everything that happens from the moment you walk in, just because of my head conditions, my chronic migraines, my CVS. I know the drill over there. From going into triage and getting the first vital signs, I knew something was wrong because of the way that the nurses were acting. And I know those people very well. I'm like on a first name basis with them. They were freaked out, and they were kind of looking at me and my husband, and they were like, has this ever happened before? And we were like, no, this is like, I was fine. I just woke up, like I literally woke up like this. And they were like, okay, you need to come back for some labs immediately. And we were like, okay. I already knew what they thought it was. I had read about this as a child in a novel once. I decided to look it up again. And the two things that I had on my skin were the two big warning signs of leukemia. And I looked at my husband and I was like, they think it's leukemia. They're freaking out. They didn't want to say it, and they were dancing around it. And I knew, and we kind of knew that's what it was. They didn't want to scare us. And being, I guess, as used to medical people and staff and how things operate, I kept pretty calm, you know, but of course things are going through my mind like, you know, I'm not even 40 yet. Like, I turned 38 this winter. This is like, this can't happen yet. And you know, I'm trying to keep my mind from going there. I really think I went to the ER just for them to tell me, oh, you're fine, don't worry about it. Unfortunately, I wasn't going to get that reassurance. So after they take my labs and I'm back in my room, I knew things were not going as they normally do things in the ER. So I'm sitting there and we're waiting and waiting and we're waiting in an abnormally long amount of time. Like a long time has passed, like way longer than a normal lab should have taken in the ER. And then finally a team of doctors walks into the room. This has never happened to me before, even with my brain condition. This has never happened. And they wanted to see my skin. And of course, you know, we showed them everything that we could. We told them all the symptoms that I had been having, which weren't much. I mean, I just woke up like this. And they kind of nodded. They walked out of the room, huddled together, and we're all speaking in very hushed voices. And I looked at my husband and he's looking at me and we're just like, this is not good. This is not good. This is not good. And they came back. And they were like, well, we don't know. This isn't normal. This is very bizarre because your labs tell us that it's not hemophilia, which they had thought that it was. I have a family member with hemophilia in my immediate family. It's not that. It's not. I wasn't anemic, which we thought it could be anemia. That's not that. And they were like, and your red and white counts are where they should be. We're very confused. But they were like, I think we need to run your red and white again. And they were like, you need to see your primary immediately. So I said, okay. So I left there even more freaked out, which was not the reason why I went. I went for kind of reassurance, you know what I mean? So we go home, call my primary, and I get in within 2 days. And I have to tell you, I have a very good primary doctor. So I showed her what my body looked like. And her jaw hit the floor. And she's like, oh my goodness, what happened? And I was like, I don't know. I woke up like this. I don't have, I don't sleepwalk. I didn't fall out of bed. This has never happened before. I've always been an easy bruiser, but I've never had anything like this before. If I bruise, it's because I, brushed up against something a little too hard, or, I'm very clumsy, so sometimes I bang my elbows on the door frames and things like that. That's me. I'm very clumsy. But this, I told her, I was like, this is not normal. I was like, if I fell out of bed or something like that, I would have a much larger bruise. I wouldn't have these little itty bitty bruises all over my body. And she was like, are you in pain anywhere? And I was like, other than the usual headaches and migraines, no. So she's like, okay. So then she was like, I want you to go to oncology. And my heart just sank. She brought in 4 other doctors to look at me. So at this point, I have seen over 8 doctors, even more nurses from our military hospital. And they all just are circling me, looking at my body going, this is bad. And she's like, I think you need to go to oncology. So I called oncology and it took months to get into that place. So I'm still in like a holding period for that. And then my doctor, she was like rattling off all of these things. And she's like, I'm going to kind of like rapid fire things that this could possibly be other than the big C, which is cancer. And I was like, okay. And she just starts rattling off all these, and none of them sound familiar to me at all. And I was like, no, like, I don't think I have any of that in my family. Now, I have a lot of junk in my family, especially on my mother's side. There's all kinds of things, but none of the things that she listed off, none of them rang any bells. And you got to understand too, my brain was a mess when she said all of that, but I kept it in the back of my mind. And I go home, and then we had a cold front move in the next day. And I'm at my computer and I'm editing actually a video for my channel, and my hands started to hurt again, just like it did last fall, around the same time. And all of a sudden, this light bulb goes off in my brain. Last fall and winter, my hands all the way up to my shoulders were in a lot of pain. And honestly, I thought I had carpal tunnel from editing these videos and doing all the work on my phone and stuff from my channel. Honest to goodness, I thought that's what it was. So I ordered like all of these things like carpal tunnel braces and, you know, creams and different things for my laptop. And all of a sudden, slowly, it just went away in the springtime. And I was like, yes, I fixed it. You know, like I fixed myself without having to get surgery. Well, that same pain came back. And then something she said rang a bell. Rheumatoid arthritis, which is an autoimmune disease. So I called my mom before I called my doctor. And I was like, hey, the arthritis that runs in the family, I thought was regular like osteoarthritis. I had never heard anybody in my family say rheumatoid arthritis. So I called my mom and I was like, hey, what is the actual arthritis that runs in the family? And she's like, oh, it's rheumatoid arthritis. That was one of the first things that my doctor rapid fired at me. And I was like, that's what it is. Called my doctor immediately and told her. And then she got me in that week, which is really quick for a military hospital. I went back to my doctor and I was like, hey, my hands are hurting. We just had a cold front and this runs in my family. I have it, my mother has it, my grandmother had it, her mother had it. It's like a trait with all the women in my family. I had no idea. And the relief that flooded over me at that point was just overwhelming. And she was like, oh, thank God. And I was kind of the same way. I was like, oh. And she's like, now this makes sense. She's like, what you have on your skin is things that are associated with rheumatoid arthritis. She's like, you don't need to go to oncology anymore. And I was like, whew, you know, like dodge that bullet. And she's like, but you do need to go see a new specialist. And I was like, oh, yay. I was hoping that maybe she could treat me because I like her a lot, but I didn't get off that easy. So she set me up with a doctor that is a couple of towns over that I'm going to be seeing in March. And I will say there is nothing food-wise that sets this off for me. So the rheumatoid arthritis diet or the anti-inflammatory diet won't work for me because I already tried it, 1. And 2, it's merely weather related. So in the spring and the summer when it's warm outside, I don't have a problem. I don't flare. But when it's cold, I flare, and I go in and out of flares in the fall and winter. So I deal with this 6 months out of the year, which is better than 12 months. I will say it's better than you know, having it year round. My grandmother and my mother are the same exact way. And although my grandmother isn't here with us anymore, luckily my mom still is, so I was able to kind of get some insight on this. So hers is the same way. So as soon as the weather drops and that cold front hits, hers sets in. So where does this leave me? I don't know. I'm waiting to, I think like the middle of March is when I see my doctor for the very first time. And I don't know what they're gonna do after that. Although my doctor told me I'm probably gonna go on some kind of medication to slow the progress, or to slow the progression of the rheumatoid arthritis on my joints. And she said like, there's no homeopathic type of thing that is going to be equal to this, and to make sure that I take my medicine. And I was like, okay, all right. And she told me what's going to happen if I don't eventually. And because I am younger to be getting rheumatoid arthritis, I have to take my medicine, or in the next 20, 30 years, I'm going to lose mobility. And that kind of scares me. And the pain that I felt last year was mainly in both of my hands, and when it would get bad, it would flare up to my shoulder. This year, I have the same thing, but I'm also getting pain in my jaw, which makes it hard to talk sometimes. I'm getting pain in like the back of my neck. I'm getting it in my knees and in my feet. So I'm like, well, we progressed pretty quickly, didn't we? So that's where I'm at now. Although my husband is super sweet, and for Christmas he got me a hand massager off of Amazon. If you guys have RA, check that out. It is amazing. And when normal medication doesn't work, like I can't take a lot of aspirin, the NSAIDs I'm not supposed to be taking because of my CVS. So this leaves me in a predicament here, because I need anti-inflammatory medication to make the RA back off, but NSAIDs also kind of make other things like my CVS really bad. So I'm in a weird spot, and I'm hoping that whatever medication they put me on kind of stops the cycle of the flare-ups. And what happens is, we found out the bruising and the dots. We figured that out. So the bruising and the dots happen when I flare. It happens right before a flare-up. So when that happens, because I've done this like 3 times now, and I started kind of like writing down what happens, we figured this out. So what happens is, I'll wake up and I'll be covered in the bruises from my waist down pretty much. And when I see them on my legs, I know in about 2 days, I'm gonna start flaring up. So that's kind of like a precursor warning, and the dots get more and more numerous. The dots do not go away, which really stinks. There is a name for these red dots, and it starts with a P, and it's the same exact one that you see with leukemia. And that's why the doctors originally thought it was leukemia, because it's the same exact skin condition. But these skin conditions are also caused by rheumatoid arthritis. And what do you know? So going into the new year, that's going to be the newest thing. So all this stuff about arthritis and different things you're seeing on my Instagram and in my stories and stuff, this is why. I just wasn't ready to say what happened, because I feel like the last medical update I gave was a really good one. I had a good report and I was so excited, and then this happened not like 2 or 3 weeks later after that video went up on my YouTube, and I was just like, people are gonna think I'm insane. But it hinders me from doing a lot of other things, and I've noticed cognitive issues. I've noticed I'm more fatigued. Like, I am very, very fatigued. I have had, when I flare, I have a really hard time getting out of bed. I have a really hard time focusing and concentrating. I sometimes mess up like words that I'm supposed to be saying, or I feel like a space cadet, honestly. I feel kind of just like loopy and out of it, even though I'm not taking any medication or anything. It's just like, I just kind of feel out of it when I'm in a flare, and I sleep a lot. I'm getting up a lot later, and it's totally screwing up my homeschool schedule, and I will say that makes me insane. I'm learning how to push through it. I think these first couple flares, now that I know what they are, I at least know how to better handle them. I'm looking at getting possibly new shoes to kind of help. I don't know. I'm going to see how bad it goes to my feet. Luckily, I still seem to be okay as long as I keep moving and things like that. And that's one of the reasons I started hand embroidery, is because it sets in at night for the most part if I'm in a flare, and keeping my hands moving and just kind of like that repetitive thing is a big help. So I'm really glad it's not cancer. I'm very, very thankful that it's not cancer. I don't want you to think that I'm taking that for granted. I'm not. I'm through that. That was a hurdle. That was a mountain. That was really scary. I'm through it. I'm very thankful that that's not it. But I have a new set of challenges ahead of me that I'm going to have to work through. So, yay, one more thing. And I get really hesitant to share this type of stuff because I keep wondering at what point you guys are going to be like, she's making this up for attention. There's no way anybody could have this many things wrong with them. I wish so much sometimes that it wasn't true. Not that I would ever make a video for attention. I don't do that. I think that's kind of silly, but I like to be really honest, and sometimes, you know, I get a lot of questions on my Instagram of why do you do this? Why do you do, or what's up with this? Why do you have this? And I can at least refer people back to this video. This is why I have RA, and I just found out about it. And I've always been really honest with you guys about my medical condition and how that affects my homeschool, and it really does affect my homeschool. I'm gonna have to figure out different things as far as like planning and writing, because writing with pens and pencils and things like that really hurts. So I might have to figure out something. I don't know, but it's just a new thing that I'm learning how to work through. So that's where I'm gonna leave this video because it's getting pretty long. But thanks guys for sticking with me and being so supportive. I really do appreciate all of you for being my friend and for being so sweet and sending me messages and always thinking and praying about me. I really, really appreciate it. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.